Welcome to the first ever episode of Joy in Purpose podcast. I am so happy to have you here. Come on in and let's talk. So today's topic is why you don't have any friends. Yes, but don't worry, I'm getting somewhere with my question. Or let me ask you this. Do you have purpose friends? You have friends, but do you have purpose friends? So before we get into today's topic, I want to talk about something that I mentioned in my trailer episode. I shared how maybe I wasn't going to share my name yet, or I wasn't going to share my picture. Well, I changed my mind on those two things because I believe that God called me to do this podcast and to share about topics related to purpose, mental health, and career development. So I'm going to put myself out there. So my name is Lola. Thank you. Welcome to the show once again. And also, if you look at the podcast cover of wherever you're listening to this podcast, you will see that my picture is there. So I'm so glad that we are getting acquainted. So I don't want to waste too much of your time. Let's get into this podcast topic. So there are friends and then there are friends. We all know that. Maybe you're at the point in your life right now where you have friends, you have acquaintances, you have situational friends, maybe at work, at church, people that you talk to. But then I've also found yourself, maybe there are people that you talk to, but maybe you've shared things with them and you realize, ooh, I shouldn't have shared that information with them. Or maybe you've been close with them for years, however long, and you realize that these are not my friends. And maybe what you really meant was these were not my purpose friends. Because there are people that we meet that they are our acquaintances and we're friendly with them. There's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to your purpose, when it comes to the matter of the heart, the things that maybe God is talking to you about, your struggles, there's some people that shouldn't have a chance to speak into your life. There's some people that shouldn't know your secret. There's some people that shouldn't know your innermost thoughts. God knows our innermost thoughts, but people that maybe there's thoughts that you've been having and you finally want to share it, there's people that you shouldn't even be talking to them about. So you might be at a point, or maybe you have experienced this in the past where you felt like, I don't have any friends. First, let me talk to you about why you might feel that way. So sometimes it's not that we don't have any friends, it's that we don't have purpose friends because we're missing that closeness. We just have a whole bunch of people that we're friendly with. So if you find yourself in a position or multiple times where you've shared with someone, you thought someone was a really good friend and they disappointed you, this might be the reasons why. I'm gonna talk about several reasons. First, sometimes we share things with the wrong people, right? And we're living in a la la land. Maybe you're the kind of person that you see the best in people. You see people's potential, which is a gift because people need others to see the potential in them and encourage it. And sometimes you have to encourage someone from afar, right? Because if you see a potential of someone to be great, but they're maybe right now they're doing illegal activity, you can encourage them, but your closeness to also have to see the best in people. Let's say there's someone right now, you see the greatness in them, but they're not making the best decisions with their life. So you can encourage them, but encourage them from afar, right? Because you might be able to encourage them, but they might not be the one that you go to for your own life advice. But because we see the best in people, we're seeing them for who they're going to be in the future. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But then we're dealing with them as though they have that moral capabilities that we think that they should have. And so you're sharing things with them, but meanwhile, they're going behind your back. They're talking about you. They're sharing your goals, the things you want to work on with other people in their lives. Girl, there's nothing wrong with seeing the best in people, but when people show you who they are, believe them. When people show you who they are, believe them and believe them quickly. Some of us, it's taking us years to realize that this person was no good for me, but they're not brand new now. they've been like that for years, but because we see the best in them, you can see the best in them, but treat them as an acquaintance, treat them as a friend, as a friend, someone that you see and you're friendly with, right? But you don't share everything with them, so that, because when you share everything with them and you take them as a purpose friend, as an encourager, someone that will encourage your dreams, then you run into disappointment. So um other things to look for in people that shouldn't be in your life are picking apart the little things. There are people where you can just casually mention something, or you mention a big goal, and there's a pattern of always picking things. They just pick you apart. Sometimes it's done in a funny way, sometimes it's done in a sarcastic way, and I love a good time. I love comedy and jokes, but there's times that people just camouflage their dislikeness for you. Can you imagine being best friends with your enemies? Like, so they're tearing you down. And the other thing about when you are sharing things with someone that you shouldn't be sharing it with them is that they know your weaknesses. And some people that are great manipulators, right, they also can tell people's weaknesses, because you have to manipulate people, you have to study people. So they've looked at you, they know your weaknesses, and they just begin to tear you apart, and they know how to do it in a way that you will respond to it. Then after years and years, then you realize, oh wow, I don't have any friends. Girl, stop being friends with people that tear you apart, that pick your dreams apart. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with joking and being sarcastic, but there's a pattern of this. Take time. I'll get into what you need to do. I'll get into that in a little bit. And then there are people that they don't see who you are. You always feel like you have to convince them that I am smart. You have to convince them that you're beautiful. You have to convince them, like, you want to apply for this job. You have to give them 10 reasons why you're applying for this job. Like, so like they don't say anything, but the little things that they say, really? Oh, wow. You always feel like you have to prove yourself. And then after years and years of doing that, or months of doing that, you're like, oh, I don't have any friends. These are the things to watch out for when you feel like you always have to prove yourself. If they don't like you for who you are right now, if I have to always give you 10 reasons, I want to apply for this job, I want to do this thing, I want to tell you why I'm so passionate about this, let that friendship go. Also, another thing is their non-verbal cues. So years go by and you realize this person is not my friend. Sometimes there are people that will make non-verbal cues. Let me give an example. There used to be someone, I don't know how to say this. I'll figure out a way to say this in English. I remember there was someone that, like, anytime I said something, maybe I'm explaining something, I'm sharing something about myself, this person will do something that we say in Yoruba, that this person will yimu simi, meaning that this person will put their nose up, like in a way that, like, is that really what you want to do? And it was so consistent that after a while I was like, oh, at first, sometimes it was like I would catch them later on. I would catch a glimpse of it, or like, but after a while, this is what they were doing. So it was like, oh, you just don't believe me. You're just, or you're, I'm amusing to you in a way that was in, for my own best interest. So it was like, oh, time to let you go. Let you go. And there are other non-verbal cues. Sometimes people's body's language will change. Maybe you're in a conversation, someone is asking about what you do, and you're talking about yourself, your career goals, relationship, things that are going amazingly well in your life. And then all of a sudden, they just want you to change the conversation. Their body language is like, this is enough for blah, 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 blah. Watch out for non-verbal cues. There are people that are really good at saying what needs to be said, but their nonverbal cues is telling you otherwise. Pay attention. And sometimes you can misread nonverbal cues, but this is why patterns are important. I was sometimes just asking, but like, am I interpreting that wrong? And even from their response, you can tell. So let's talk about sometimes when we find ourselves in a position that we feel like we don't have any friends, and when I'm saying we don't have any friends, I'm saying that we don't have any purpose friends. Because when people say they don't have any friends, sometimes it's not that they don't have any friends, it's that there are people that are around them that like them, that will say hello to them and all that kind of good stuff. But it's like they don't have anybody that they can share things, the intimate details, that the social connections that we need as human beings, that they will really enjoy, where they feel like someone else really knows them and they feel like they can truly be themselves around that person. Sometimes you find yourself going to this type of people that are not truly your friend because we're picky. The reason why I say that is because sometimes, maybe from like high school days or something like that, you've always wanted to be a part of the cool kids club or whatever. So you are now drawn to people not because of their character, but because they appear to be cool. So maybe they're the smart ones in the group. Maybe they're the ones whereby they dress really nice. Sometimes you don't even notice these things. You're like, oh, I just want all my friends to look good. You know what I mean? So I want all my friends to have this type of career, blah blah. So you bypass other people that might be good for you, like a good friend to you, and you bypass them to go and be friends with the cool people. And so, and there's sometimes when you're just forcing it. Of course, to be a friend, to have friends, you have to be a friend. But sometimes you're being friendly, this person doesn't want you in their life, and you just keep doing it. You just keep doing it. So I've talked about some of the reasons why, we get to a point, you might get to a point in your life where you feel like, I don't have any friends. And I think that there has to come a time where you just have to be okay with being by yourself. You have to be okay knowing that you have acquaintances, you have people that you greet at work. You just have to come to a point in your life where you're okay with that, and just be able to go for a season in your life where you're like, I don't have any purpose friends in my life for now. And you just have to be, and at this point in your life, if you're okay with doing that, then take a look at your weaknesses, take a look at your strengths, take a look at ways that you can network. So is there someone else that maybe you've overlooked that could have been a purpose friend because you were trying to be part of the cool kids, and start to reach out to them. I know that purpose friendships take time. Those are the kind of friendship that simmer. Sometimes you meet people and you get along with them great. But me, I like to pause. I like to take my time, because sometimes the flashiness, the words that people say, like make you become really quick to like wanting to share details of your life with them. We're talking about purpose. We're talking about purpose here. So I don't play with that. So for me to start sharing what I want to do with my life, my career goals and things like that, I like to take my time. I like to see patterns. I think the biggest thing is just being okay with the fact that maybe right now I don't have purpose friends, and I have God. I can talk to him and begin to look at places where you can network. I know in COVID is really difficult, but like professional networks, people at your church, and just put yourself out there where you're getting to know people. And like I said, honestly, it might take time, it might take years. The purpose of this podcast is just for you to notice that you might be at that point, and it's okay to let it go. Some people like to let it go slowly. Some people like to, just do it gradually where they let go. But because people like that, you might have ideas that you might never bring to fruition because you're around people that don't like you. To be honest, you won't really realize how much you are like suffocating your own purpose until you step back. And sometimes God has to force us to step back from those friendships until like you step back and you're like, wow. Because sometimes you won't work on an idea because someone in the friend group would not like it or will laugh at it, or you have to explain yourself. So by the time you try to find an explanation for why you want to do something, you just end up not doing it. So the goal of this podcast, of this episode today, just first of all to take a look at yourself and to be able to say, am I in that position? And take a step back and just be okay with the fact that you don't have purpose friends for now. It won't last long, trust me. And the same mistake you were making the last time, let's not make it again. Because some of us, it becomes a pattern of like you just picking the wrong friends. Oh, God have mercy on us. On us, all of us, me included. So I'm not picking on you. If you have any questions or anything that you would like for me to address directly, please let me know by emailing me at joyinpurposepodcast@gmail.com. I would love to talk to you, get to know you. And I would love to have an episode where I answer listeners' questions as much as I can. The only thing I'm asking of you, okay, two things. Two things I'm asking you to do for me, please. I'm begging. I'm not doing shakara. I'm not doing shakara. Is, can you please share this podcast with your friends and your family? Send them the link. You can find this podcast anywhere, everywhere you listen to your other favorite podcasts. Also, rate this podcast. So give it 5 stars wherever you're listening to this podcast and write me a lovely comment. What that does is just helps with the algorithm so that other people like you that have been blessed by this podcast can also get a chance to listen to this podcast. I am so happy that you're here. I'm so happy to talk to you. Like I said, I have episodes lined up, so I'm excited to see you all next week. Yeah, I don't know what day I'll be posting yet. I said Wednesday the last time. I'm gonna keep it to Wednesdays. I'm still figuring out the algorithm, like which days are better, but we'll stick to Wednesdays for now. Thank you for listening.